All right, this is an update. It's Sunday, May 9th, 2021. It's been a whole month since Lance Jochims, Jochims, of Lancelot Builders in Waukesha, Wisconsin, he has a franchise for Wausau homes, has done anything to the house. He's done nothing, which shouldn't be a surprise. He wants what he can't have. And just a quick walkthrough. I've been keeping the place looking occupied. I park cars out in the front. I change it up a little bit. The place, of course, is still filthy. But that's Lance. That's his style. That's what he does. And since nothing's been done for a month, there's really nothing to report other than nothing's been done. So it's always nice to have a quick update. My impression with Lance is the rules don't apply to Lance going through the mudroom at start. He sort of figures he gets what he gets because he's the builder. And I think that's too bad. You can see that the mess is still here. Nothing has changed. So it's always nice to document what hasn't been done. I'd much rather tell you what has been done. I don't think that's an option with Lance. He pretty much does with his own thing. Because my impression is he feels like he's impervious to anybody's complaints. I wonder how many people have complained about him. But as I've described before, mediation and arbitration are secret discussions. They're not available to anybody because the records are destroyed and the expectation is nothing will be done. So if you're a builder, if you're Lance Jochims, Jochims, of Lancelot Builders in Waukesha, Wisconsin, and you build for Wausau homes, you're pretty much immune to anything. So Metropolitan Builders Association, which is his back, that's his position he always likes to do, doesn't report any of it. The point of this is if you go with Lance and you do a Google search on him to see if there's been any complaints, well, the beauty of the system he's got is if somebody has complained and gone to mediation and arbitration, you will never find a record of it. No record of all of any disgruntled buyers. Of course, I think I'm the first disgruntled buyer who's ever said anything, but then that's the beauty of YouTube. If someone does search for people who've been unhappy with Lance, they will, of course, hopefully discover this YouTube page and get to see the transition from great guy to not a great guy. It's been 4 months. This house should have been done 4 months ago. And like I said, he's done nothing, absolutely nothing for a month. So the house has just sat here and you look at the fills. I mean, this is a repetition of before. So I had the cars out here I change up the cars all the time so that it looks like someone's here. And most of the neighbors are convinced I'm here because they see the cars coming and going, which is a good thing because insurance companies don't like abandoned houses. Nothing has changed. So I'll give you Lance's address, etc., and point of information so that if you are looking at having him build you a house with Wausau Homes, if someone said, would I have Lance do it knowing what I know now? No way. I can't explain. Hopefully these videos illustrate the point that you don't want someone like Lance Jr., not Lance Sr. One of the things that people said is, well, how could Lance be such a terrible builder? Well, that's my opinion, of course. Other people may think he's the best thing since sliced bread. But his father, who I believe Lance got the company from, has an impeccable reputation. Now, one thing I heard from all the subs who knew Lance Sr., his father, who I believe he got the company from, realized I don't think Lance Jr., the guy who's my contractor, built this from the ground up. He inherited it. And it sort of shows. But Lance Sr., my point is, all the subcontractors who knew Lance Sr. adore him. My God, they can't say anything but wonderful things about Lance Sr. And one story in particular that comes back that all of them talk about is how in the 2007-2008 problem with the economy, builders were going under right and left. And of course, given the economy and the housing bubble, these builders were not able to pay their subs. So a lot of subs got hurt financially. A lot of builders got hurt financially. But one of the remarkable things about Lance Sr., the father, is that when the economy picked up and he started building, each and every subcontractor who worked for Lance Sr. tells the same story. And the story is he came around to all these people years later when he had the money and he paid them. He had no legal obligation to pay them, but he did it because that's a man of integrity and character. Unfortunately, that attribute, that quality, I suspect was not genetically transferred to Lance Jr. because none of the subcontractors, and I've met them all, every single one, I've spent time with them, has never, ever spontaneously uttered the words, "Boy, I really like Lance Jr. He is such an incredible person." Not a single one. And now that I think about it, I think I have an understanding why. In my opinion, there's nothing remarkable about Lance Jr. other than he can be 4 months late on a house that's supposed to have been finished back in January, and he can suspend work for a month and not care. I would predict, all this is just speculation, I would predict that Lance Sr. would never have done what Lance Jr. has done. I just don't think it's part of his personality. But it doesn't mean that Lance is a bad person. It just means he's not his father. And the business was built on his father's reputation. And it's too bad, because to have the reputation that Lance Sr. had being transferred to his son and then watch his son squander it is too bad. So, to say it again, would I have Lance Jr., the son, be my contractor? No freaking way. Now, if you want to have Wausau Homes do the work, and I think Wausau Homes has a great product, their framing is amazing. You have an option with Wausau Homes to actually say, I want a different franchisee in the Wausau Homes community to do it. Now realize Lance has southeastern Wisconsin. But if you don't want him, but you still want the Wausau Homes, you can make a request that the contractor who's not got this area, in fact, do your building. You don't have to take Lance Jr. You do not have to take him. You can say, listen, I want to build with Wausau Homes, but I do not want Lance Jr. Then someone who's in an outlying franchise can do the home for you in your area in southeastern Wisconsin. Keep that in mind. You are not destined, you're not doomed, you're not committed to Lance Jr. You can get someone else. It's happened before. I've been told this by a number of people. And so if I were to do it again, I would get a different contractor outside of Lance Jr.'s franchise. I'd just go up to Wausau Homes and say, I do not want Lance Jr. He has a bad reputation. He's not a good contractor. You might even say, some would say he lacks integrity. And I would agree with that. He breached the contract, but I digress. So you have that option. Wausau Homes, good company. Don't have any complaints about them so far. So keep that as an option. If you want to go with Wausau Homes and Lance Jr. still has the exclusive, relative exclusive on southeast Wisconsin, just say, no, I want this contractor who's a Wausau Homes franchisee. I don't want Lance Jr. And since money talks and bullshit walks, I think you have a case. Other than that, I'm going to say it for the 20th time. Would I have Lance Jr. do it? No way. Would I still have Wausau Homes do the framing? Yes. But I would get a franchisee of Wausau Homes other than Lance to do the building. It can be done. You just have to be persistent. So I hope you're doing well. It's around 60 degrees, winds out of the northwest. I've been up at the house every day trying to make it look occupied, because obviously insurance companies don't like abandoned homes, and Lance doesn't seem to care. It seems to be part of his bully pulpit. As long as he thinks he can outlast you and go month after month after month with breach of contract and not fulfilling his duties, I guess it's leverage. I don't think he's ever been punished or reprimanded for his behavior. So it's that's the way life is. If you consistently, persistently do something that shows a lack of integrity, you tend to think you can get away with it. Well, hopefully I can help someone who's considering Wausau homes in southeastern Wisconsin and give them an option to avoid the absolute disaster that's been Lance Jochims Jr. And it's been a disaster. You can watch my videos from the beginning when he was actually doing a good job, and then he just started to ignore the project, make demands like he wanted his money before he finished. So that's it. Have a nice Sunday. Bye.